So DFS as a whole. So like I said, we won't take long today. We'll just go straight for the basics, do some labs. So DFS as a whole, what's the what's the goals or what does it achieve? What's like the goals that DFS achieves? So in what, or let me put it this way, in what situation, as a system admin, in what situation will you advise um, the business you're working for and say we need to implement DFS? In what situation?
Uh, you want me to answer that
Yeah,
or
go
have
ahead.
you?
Yeah.
But actually, there are like two ways to implement the DFS. Basically, DFS for the larger networks, which are like huge, humongous, bigger. It's not for like mid-size. I mean, you can use it for mid-size as well, but the major idea is to use it for like larger networks where there are like millions of files and there are millions of departments. Many people are working together.
Yeah.
So it's basically what DFS is doing is it's basically in programming point of view they use pointers.
Mm-hmm.
So it just only points you to a certain direction. Like I would say basically like if there are like 100 files in a room and you know where a 50th file is,
Mm-hmm.
so I ask you as David, can you point me to that 50th file? You say, okay, I go there, do this, and over there is over there.
Mm-hmm.
So you are basically working as a DFS server for me, who's
Yep.
basically pointing, like you are mapping a folder
Mm-hmm.
onto an actual location.
Yep.
So that's what the concept of DFS is.
Now, Enrique, sorry, Zoe brought out something really, really interesting, which we'll use because that's really what you mentioned something that's really, really important, which we'll use. But let's listen to Enrique's thoughts on that. So, in what situation as a system admin? So, if I get Zoe properly, what Zoe said is that you will recommend it for really large companies with large departments. What about you, Enrique? In what situation will you look at the company, a system admin, and say, okay, this is our strategy for file services. Let's add this as part of our strategy. Let's use distributed file system as part of our strategy. And you have to justify the reasons why you're advising them to do this. So in what situation?
Actually, I can't imagine another one.
Mhm. What Zoe said large companies, which
Yeah.
I don't really, because the company that I'm going to be working for in London, for example, it's a
Mm-hmm.
company that, okay, they've told me, they said, okay, we have more staff than this, but the main staff that we're working towards in terms of computing are only 24 staff globally. So we have 24 staffs globally. We have an office in China, an office in Birmingham, an office in London. 24 staffs globally. I got it. I was like, okay, what's the let's do a brief internet test. Went to speedtest.com or speedtests on Google and brought it up and went, let's see the download speed. Download speed was like maybe because it's in the middle of London where there's no fiber connectivity. So download speed was like maybe 2 megabits per second. So what is upload speed? 0 point something megabits per second. Now, I was like,
Really?
yeah, you guys need
Yeah.
DFS. You need
Mm.
DFS. It even though it's a small company, because what we have is you have, so it's not just for large companies. Actually, I can even argue that for a large company, you may not need DFS. If it's a large company in a single location, there's really nothing you need DFS for if it's for a single location, really. DFS
No,
was, yeah, sorry, carry on, Zoe. You wanted
no,
to
we
say?
don't need it if it's for a single location.
Yeah, exactly. So it's mainly for where there's like multiple locations. So in other words, you have an office here. This is Brazil. So you have the Brazil office here. You have another office down here, and this is your London office. Um, let's go. Sorry, let's copy this one so that don't disturb. Um, okay. So we have another office there, and this is your London office. And then you have another office there, and this one will be your Oxford office. So we have servers in all the three locations that the three of us are in. So we got one here for Oxford. Now here's the thing: is that um, let's say you have like your main DC. So Brazil is like the main DC, where like the main data center is. So Brazil has like a big data center with lots of servers and lots of you know patrons and all that stuff. And Brazil has this huge internet connectivity there. But let's say in the one in Oxford, let's say they only got, like we said, maybe they only got 4.2 megabits per second upload, uh, and maybe they've only got, maybe 0.5 download or something. Yeah, like, let's say they only got maybe 5 megabits per second download. Now, if your guys in Oxford are going over to Brazil to access their files, that will be really painful. I mean, people may commit suicide in the office, like,
Yeah.
because they're like, you double click on the file, you're like, okay, I've finished editing this file, now I want to save it. Right click and click save, and it goes, and then it's
Yeah.
uploading, 20 megabyte file, and it's going.
And you can see go to the coffee.
Exactly. So that's the kind of situation where you need DFS, where you have
Yeah.
more. Now, if it's a situation where you're like a rich company, you've got an office in Brazil, and you've got guaranteed MPLS connection of 100 megabits per second in between these two, because you can, if you have the money, you can pay, and they'll guarantee you 100 megabits, as much as you want, they'll guarantee you if you can pay the money. And you have that, you may not need DFS, because there's good upload and download speed in between your locations. So if your users wants to access files in this other location, it's easy, because there's like view good. Although there's still there's still a line of thought that says, for example, you don't really pay for your internal network. Once you've bought your switches and you've bought your routers for your internal network, you don't pay for it anymore. It's your network. You have your gigabit network internally, you don't pay for it. But external network, you pay for it. And you have to be careful, because if you use more than you're agreed to use, you may have like one of these agreements where they say, yeah, we'll guarantee you this, but if you use above that, we'll charge you, £100 per extra megabit. So if you have those kind of agreements, you want to be careful not to use more than you're supposed to use. So that's another argument to say, your one connection, even though you may have like a huge one connection, you're paying for it. So you have to use it efficiently. While your LAN connectivity, you don't pay for it. The only payment you make is the original investment, and after that, no more payment. So that's the only situation where you need DFS. A situation where you have different locations. So now, what DFS now says is that, okay, I can have this server that we have here. We can have this server and say, um, yeah, let's go. We can say this server here, and say we have another one in the London office, and we say we have another one in the Oxford office. And then if any change is made in this one, it can synchronize to this one. If any change is made in this one, it can synchronize to this one. If any change is made in this one, it can synchronize to this one. And then the other thing is that if users in Oxford want to access the file, they don't need to go to Brazil to access the file. They access the file on the gigabit connection that is just right next to them. So that's pure gigabit connection to their own patch room, and they're like, it's really fast. And if the guys in Brazil wants to access it, the server is just in their gigabit connection in the LAN, and the guys in London is just next to them in their gigabit connection, and then it synchronizes the changes in between them. So that's the whole point of the main reason why you. So if a company is like, you have fast internet connectivity, yes, but it's like, we're not willing, because I would, just to give you like a bit of like real world scenario, like when I went into like the office in Birmingham and stuff like that, one of the things I recommended was like, okay, you guys, you're a, you're probably not like a big company, but you're a business, and you're not like a too poor business, you're still making some profit and all that. At some point, you probably want to get some solid internet connectivity, you know, maybe get some dedicated um, connection with one of these ISPs, so they can guarantee you something like 30 megabit download and upload. And we contacted Virgin in UK. We're like, okay, so how much? We're like, yeah, um, all you need to do is pay like about £4,000 for installation, and then pay like about £4,000 yearly. And then the the CEO was like, yeah, we're okay, we can afford that. But then the other guy was like, hold on, if we buy 30 megabits directly in our London office, that's really nothing, because for you to have any effect, you must have something similar in Birmingham, something similar in China. Because otherwise, if there's 30 megabit here and there's a zero point 0.2 megabit here, guess what speed you're going to be operating at? It's zero point 0.2, because the lowest link is what you operate by. So this one is like, oh, I can send a file to you at 30 megabits per second. So I can upload it straight to the internet. But this one is like, yeah, sorry, I can only receive at zero point 0.2 megabits per second. So you're still limited by that bandwidth that is in the slowest location. So they were like, if this investment will work, that means we have to do it in this location, and that means we have to budget extra, uh, maybe extra £12,000 in a year with that one. Like, how much do they sell a new server? I'm like, yeah, you can probably get one for 2,000. I'm like, yeah, get about 5 servers, put them in all the locations that you want, rather than us investing in £12,000 every year. Just get servers in the different locations so that our users can access things locally and then they synchronize with one another. And the
Which
most
service do you use for this upload thing? Is it like only single company, or you can speak to any company which provides commercial internet connection?
usually people tend to use a single company, and the reason for that is, for example, for example, you go to BT, you say, BT, you're my provider in Oxford. Can you get me someone in London? I want 30 megabit in London. BT will be like, you know what? You're a good customer. We have this ISP in London that we have an agreement with.
Okay.
If you go to London by yourself and you get this other ISP, now you're in trouble because they may not have an agreement with BT. So now you have to negotiate some higher price. So
Okay.
so all these ISPs, they have agreements in between themselves, where BT has agreement with some ISPs in Brazil, and they have agreement with some ISPs in Germany, and they can tell you, yeah, we have a representative in Germany, we have a representative in Manila in Philippines, we have a representative in China, we have a representative in Hong Kong. You get the point. So usually people tend to do things like that rather than, so it may be different ISPs, but the thing is they are all in partnership with one another. But if you just go and
I
plug
think they
in,
also take care of their infrastructure compatibility as well. Like BT is talking to somebody, then they will make sure that their infrastructure is good enough to. I mean, that's what my assumption is basically in terms of.
yeah, I'm not too sure about that. Like, like in terms of infrastructure, like how, like you mean in terms of the routers and everything. Usually, typically, most of them, we all know the routers that they're using. It's going to be really difficult. I'm not sure. Maybe there are for you to find maybe maybe there are. I'm not bashing HP or something like that. But majority of the routers out there will be Cisco on the internet. So
Yeah,
they'll
I think.
usually they'll be okay to talk to one
Okay.
another usually. But then the main thing will be the price, because I remember vividly, like there was a new office that the company I'm working at opened, and someone went to buy an internet connectivity there, or the service delivery manager went to buy internet connectivity there without consulting the network guys, and they were really upset because they were like, we could have this thing much cheaper. We could
Okay.
have this thing much more cheaper. All we need to do is talk to BT, who have been supplying us, and they'll talk to this partner, and they can get these things for us much more cheaper than what you bought. And
Oh,
yeah,
that's
so that's like the whole thing behind that. So yeah, so that's the only reason. That's the only reason why DFS exists. It's for if your users need to be accessing file services over in another place. And the thing is, like, one is really expensive, like what we said. So it may be, if you calculate the investment, like we said, as a system admin, if you calculate the investment, it may be what? So you say, okay, what will be the cost for us to install 30 megabit connectivity here? They're like, oh, that is like, and you have the ISP. The ISP is like, well, that will cost you um 4,000 pounds a month. And you're like, okay, hold on, I can buy a server here for 2,000 pounds and a server here for 2,000 pounds, you know, and then you keep using my slow, sluggish link, but my users will still get good experiences. So you have to now decide as an investment to say, to say, okay, as a system admin, this is what I will advise you business. So the managers, it's up to you to make your decision, but these are the options. We can either go buy this 4,000 pounds line a month that will guarantee us, this fast connectivity on this one, but we have to be paying it every month. Or what we can do is there's a technology called DFS that we can put one server here, get them to synchronize with one another if there are changes over the slow link that we have, and we still achieve something, a similar result. So that's like the whole point behind DFS. So, so here's the other question that I'll ask. So, what functions does DFS perform? So for DFS to fulfill what we just said, for so it's not for mainly large companies, it's for um, companies with slow site links between their locations. So that's what what they're mainly for. So how does DFS perform this function?
David, very quickly for your first point. So your point is like it's for the slow site links. You don't have to upgrade your link to a higher upload link, right?
Not at all. No, you don't have to. You don't have to,
Okay.
because we'll get there also. Because DFS uses something that even helps to reduce that. You don't have to. You don't have to upload
Oh,
your link to it like a really huge, just huge link. Because all you need to do is
okay.
have this. You have the same thing here. You have the same thing here, and DFS uses this technology that will only replicate the changes that you've made. So it won't replicate the whole file. So if you just change something in a file, it won't replicate the whole file again. It will just replicate the changes that you've made and push it onto the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the other,
Uh,
yeah, carry on. Okay.
and we can apply the same thought, the same strategy as you did it, that thought some hangouts ago about ones and zeros.
Yeah,
It compares the difference,
exactly.
okay,
Yeah,
and perform the synchronization.
exactly. So it doesn't.
Uh,
So we'll get there. So it's a technology called remote differential compression, RDC. So it doesn't send everything. It will be like, what's
mhm.
the difference between here? So it keeps a database, which will get to also. So it keeps a database and it's like, okay, and this the changes here, these changes here, these are the only bits that I need to replicate, and it replicates that bit across the line. So to make
Mhm.
it to use your one or your link effectively. And then the other thing that it provides is that the good thing is that why providing this one, why allowing you to have good access to your files locally and still synchronizing them with one another, is that it provides good failover and redundancy. Can someone explain that? So failover and redundancy. So now you're a system admin, but now you're now a sales guy. You're trying to convince your managers. So sell that to me. So I want you to, so Enrique, I want you to sell to me and convince me that how DFS can be of of good use to me in terms of failover and redundancy.
Well, because if we have a file in two or maybe three different locations,
Yeah,
we have such a backup of this file
yeah,
um, in a low cost.
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
it is one good reason.
yeah. That's
I
absolutely
think since
correct.
it's
That's
connected to
absolutely
the Active Directory, the data gets replicated all over your domain controllers. So if one server goes down, you have other servers to take care of. So this is where your failover redundancy comes in.
You've mentioned, both of you have mentioned the two main points. So, like when Ricky said, so you have a copy of the file here, you have a copy of the file here, you have a copy of the file here, which is good because if something were to happen and this hard drive were to crash completely, fire situation, everything got burnt in the in the bathroom, you still have your files in this location here, and you still have your files in this location here. Something, let's say even you have really, really good, super 100 megabit line between these two, and you're like, my users can access this one. What happens if this link goes out? Your users can access anything. But
Yeah.
that way, your users can work locally. Even if this link is down, they can still carry on working. And then when the link is back, it synchronizes. And then the one that Joe mentioned in terms of, it's replicated. We'll get to that in terms of replication its replication in Active Directory. But if you think about this in terms of now, it's time for change weekend. It's time to apply patches to your server. Now you want to apply patches to your server, but the users are like, we need our files, we need to be able to access these files. We have this sale that we need to make that is $20 million sales. IT, you always try to disturb us from doing, you know, from achieving the goal that we want to achieve and stuff like that. So like, okay, 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 don't worry. A system admin, you can say, don't worry, because what we can do is I can apply the patches to the server in London and power it off. you know, Microsoft's patches, you apply the patches and then you power it off, and the guys in London are not affected at all. Because what happens is that they tried to get their files from the London server, it's not available. Their machine will just move on to the one in Oxford and say, yeah, I'll just access the files from Oxford. It will be slower, but I still have access to the files. So that helps in terms of like your update cycle, because now as IT, you're not bringing the business down. One of the criticism with IT in the past, not very much now, is that IT is slowing the business down in terms of like, yeah, we know we need to clean up this server, we need to apply the security update, we need to apply this thing, we need to take the server down. But now you don't, you need to take the server down, but the service is not down. So you take this server down, but the whole file services is still available in this location and in this location. It may be slower, but the service is still available. So that's like one of the things like that it provides. And it's one of the things that you're always looking at in any system you implement in IT. You're always looking to say, in terms of changes, how can we do it? If the company can afford it, how can we do it that even if I take down one system, I have a change tomorrow morning, for example, I'm going to be applying upgrade on the firewall, on one of our firewalls in Munich. But the good thing is that the firewall is HA enabled. So which may look like, that's a lot of money. So we have two pairs of firewalls, both of them connected to one another. So what happens is when I'm applying the upgrade to the slave. So the slave applies the upgrade. After it applies the upgrade, it reboots itself. After it reboots itself and it comes back up, it takes over and becomes the master. And you get a downtime of about 4 to 5 seconds. So even when I'm doing the upgrade, users are working, they're like, yeah, it's not affecting any of their services. Then they will have like about 4 seconds blip where the slave becomes the master and everything is carries on working. So that's like one of the things in terms of things like that, is that you want a situation where you don't bring down the service even though you're applying your upgrades and you're doing your normal maintenance. You're not bringing down any service. So you can bring down systems, but the service is still running. So that's one of the good things that
One
DFS. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
one question, like Oxford, let's say you have this 2 GB hard disk,
Yeah,
which is having the marketing file and everything.
yeah,
All of a sudden, I said, okay, we need to open a London office tomorrow. The marketing guys will be there.
yeah.
So like you need to set up the server over there, and then okay, you said okay, I will do it.
Yeah,
but that's a fresh bare metal server. You set it up and then you set up the DFS,
yeah.
but the link is slow. So are you going to use a DFS? Once you use a DFS, so is it going to use the 2 GB drive and going to replicate it over to the London server on that slow link?
Good question. Good question. So what do you think the answer is to that question? Enrique, you want to help? What do you think the answer is?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So the question is that, so
Mm-hmm.
now we have, so because that does happen in 90 also, where you have a system and you're like, okay, we have a new office that we're opening in London. And you know that this link in between this office and this office is only 0.5 megabits. And you're like, okay, um, we already have this file server here that has 20 gigabytes of files and folders. And they're like, yeah, so this office in London, we want them to be able to access like all these files and everything like that. So what Zoe is saying is that, do you have 20 GB of files and folder here? And then when you set up this one and have it replicate 20 GB over this zero point 0.5 megabit megabits per second link,
Because in London, that's a fresh machine. There's a bare metal. There is nothing on it.
it's a brand new
Mm-hmm.
machine.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think happens in that type of a situation?
Uh, well, we can. I don't know. The first thought is to build a IFS, IFS
Hmm.
media
Hmm.
because it is the first time to synchronize the server.
Hmm. Oh,
And
you're talking
you,
about Active Directory, the IFS media.
yeah,
Yeah, actually,
uh,
you're right because the same technology that you just described in terms of like the IFS media, you can apply
mm-hmm,
that something similar to DFS too.
mm, okay.
Yeah.
But maybe we can configure some slow link detection and um, I don't know, avoid the peak time to replicate these 20 gigabytes.
Yeah,
Is it?
here's the
I
explanation.
think. Let me suggest you suggestion. Like, will
Yeah.
you be sending it mailing through a Royal Mail to this hard drive? Make a copy of this hard drive, clone it, and send a copy through a Royal Mail, just like you're going to send me my hard drive.
Yeah, actually, you do that. So what you do is you send a copy of the folder, of the 20 GB folder. So you can send a copy, burn it on CD, anything you want to do,
Hmm.
transfer the file itself, the files themselves. So you post it. So you post that to London. It gets to London, they transfer it on the folder, on the correct folder. They put it in the right folder structure. But that's not all, because how will you, all of a sudden you enable DFS on this one? How would this one know if there's been any changes on this one? The way this one keeps track of changes is something called the DFSR database. So you have to export this database, and then when you get to the one in London, you have to import this database. So if you go on Google and just go um, export DFS um, database or DFS database, export a clone of the replication database. So DFS replication initial sync. So look at this. So this will answer your question, so in terms of like the mm, let's make it even bigger so that we can see it clearly. Yeah.
Because I almost blind.
Because I saw, yeah, I saw you, I saw you find it out like, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we got this one. It says mm, okay, this talking about how to do the export and all that. Um, yeah, just telling you how to do the export. But there's a particular information that I was looking for. So let's, and I think this is available in 2012 how to. Now, previous versions, I'm not really sure. Um, okay. Um, yeah, so DFSR database cloning is an optional alternative to the so-called classic initial replication. By providing each downstream server with an exported copy of the upstream server's database and preceded files. So the preceded files is the one we're talking about, where you copy the files themselves. So, but you don't only copy the file themselves, you have to export the database that shows what the state of the file is in. So that you copy the file there, the file is there, the preceded files, and then you now import the database so it knows exactly the situation that it is. So when it's talking to the server in Oxford now, it can say, this is my current situation. Has anything changed? You get the point?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can say, oh, this is my database now. This is the current state of things. Has anything changed? So you don't only have to copy the file, you have to export the database also. So it's
So
not,
on
Mm.
in that hard drive that you are sending to London office,
yeah,
there should be having the database as well along with those
yeah,
20 GB files.
along with the files. So DFSR reduce eliminates the need for over-the-wire metadata exchange.
Okay, can you when we like quickly demonstrating this, can you show me where the database is where you will be importing the database
That's
in?
that's using PowerShell. Um, we,
Okay, so
we
there's
you
no
know what?
GUI way for doing it.
And you know what? Here's the thing: is that feature for exporting database, it's something that we need to look into because I'm not sure if it's available in any version earlier than 2012 R2. because
Okay,
because actually before this, when I was doing the labs for this, when I was doing the labs, it was one of the things that I tried to do. And because this server that I've got set up in this live environment, it's 2012. So I tried to follow this one. I think it was exactly this lab environment that this guy had. But then when I got to where to use the command export DFSR, when I got to this command here, this one, this one, so it was like, yeah, it's not available. So I think this only works in 2012 out too. So
okay.
yeah, so that's the one that you use to export it, and then you have to import that
But in
into your
R2
thing.
there's a no GUI way to do it, right?
No, no, it's
Okay.
partial. Because if you think about it, where is the database? Where is it stored? We'll talk about that.
And
We'll talk.
is that in the NTTS file?
What?
Is that in the NTTS file where the Active Directory stores the database?
That's the configuration. But we'll get there.
Well, then I don't know where it stores the database.
We'll talk about that. Okay. So yeah. So you get the point. That answers your question, right? Of what you need to
Yes.
do if it's
And
gonna
one
be.
question I wanted to clarify
Yeah.
on the DFS thing, like if you and me are writing on, let's say, text file A,
Yeah.
like you write your name David, I write my name Zuhaib.
Yeah.
We are in London and Oxford office.
Yeah.
You save your file, you go home.
Hmm.
You write the name David.
Yeah.
But when I write Zuhaib, I'm the last one, so that guy, the idea of the DFS is that the file gets saved over there, the last guy who saved it, right?
Yeah.
So
The,
when you come, once you come in the morning, you
mhm.
see Zuhaib is written. You said, "Oh, where is David?"
That brings
So
up
I
to
think
one
the
thing is that DFS it's advised. Some situations where it's advised not to really use DFS. One of the
okay,
situation is situation that you just described where multiple users editing the same
yeah, same file.
files frequently.
Yeah,
Because unfortunately, DFS doesn't handle this kind of scenario very well. So I've read in articles and informed like this is not advisable in that kind of
I have
situation.
read in I've seen in the video that it keeps a dump folder
Yeah,
where it keeps the other files. Like if the David's file didn't get saved, it will going to throw that into the dump folder. So it's basically not lost, but you are not going to see it tomorrow morning. You will
since
only see what Zuhaib is editing.
sincerely, I've never read of that before. Let's go
It
DF.
was in the CBT Nuggets R2 videos because he told
Ah,
me like it's possible to do now that is,
you know
but
what?
as a user,
That may be a new
you don't know.
feature.
Yeah,
That may be a new feature. DFS dump folder. Um, um, Actually, yeah. So it's something to investigate. But the only thing I remember about that is I've read an article where they said, well, that's not advisable. Where a situation where multiple users are editing the same. So it's not a bad situation if they are editing the same file. But let's say Enrique is in Brazil. When Brazil is sleeping, usually we're editing it, minutes apart or hours apart. It's not as if we're editing it every now and then together. So, for example, I go DFS. Um, how DFS handles conflict.
conflict,
So let's see
conflict and deleted folder. You see that the second one,
this
C
one.
and D folders.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's see.
this is the one where it dumps the file basically in
Ah,
terms of it.
okay. Yeah, staging folders. Yeah, this is staging folders. Staging folders. What else? Okay, conflict
Yeah,
and
this
deleted
one.
folders. Says their first replication use a last writer wins. Okay. So that's useful to know. So the last person that writes method for
Yeah,
determining which version of the file to keep when a file is modified on two or more member servers. The listened file is stored in the conflict and deleted folder on the member that resolves the conflict. This member might not be the member where the changes originated. Each replicated folder has its own conflict and deleted folder, which is located under the local part of the replicated folder, DFS private conflict and deleted folder. The quota size of the conflict and deleted folder is 660 megabytes by default. Like the staging folder, the conflict and deleted folder has high and low watermarks that govern cleanup and excessive usage of folder. Yeah. The files in the conflict and deleted folders are renamed and accessible only by members of the local administrators group. The access control list on the to me, I still okay. You can view a log of conflict file as well as the original file names by viewing the conflict and deleted manifest XML in the DFSR private folder. Yeah. To me, I still think actually I'm not sure if this is a new feature in 2012 how to, but I think if I think about it as an administrator, I think that is acceptable to me because it's not as
okay.
if the conflict files are lost. So if a user comes and cries and says, "Hey, I just made like this big one," I can still go into the conflict and deleted folder and get the file for him. So I think that's still acceptable to me as an administrator. I was under the impression before that because when I read that it doesn't undo that situation right, I was under the impression that wow, that means the file is lost or something, which is not a good situation. But I mean, if that's the
But as a
situation,
user,
yeah,
if you're a normal user, you don't know nothing about IT.
yeah,
You come in the morning, your file is not there.
yeah,
But then as I know as an administrator that I know how to recover it.
yeah.
But how are you going to find it from the config and deleted folder? Are you going to map it over the DFS as well, or are you going to hide it from the user?
So that's more of like a politics, a office political situation. So it depends. So
Okay.
if the other person that edited it is like, like maybe one of our lovely, sales guys, and the other person that edited it is like the finance director. I'll just delete the sales guy. No, I'm joking. Just just delete the sales guy's changes and just leave the directors and just replace with the director's one. Or you can always just copy it to another one, to copy it to another folder and everything, and just as
But
long
I
as
think
the yeah.
it's a conflicting area. Like when you see when two people are editing it, then obviously they should be educated that what can happen as a consequence. You need to educate them.
There are some
That
applications that handles that very well. Applications like even Microsoft has implemented that into their application, like Excel. If a user opens an Excel file
yeah.
from that same location, it puts a lock on it.
Okay.
So it puts a lock on it where it tells you a user has already opened this file. It's locked. Basically until they finish with it, you can't go in and edit it. You can only stay read only copy of it. But like some
Okay.
applications like Notepad doesn't have that type of a feature or anything like
Yeah.
that. So you cannot open it at the same time and yeah. So but that is really, really useful information in terms of like last writer wins, and then we know where it saves it. So the DFSR private folder, if we can get to DFSR private folder, conflict and deleted folder, and then we know we can find the conflicts in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really useful. That's really, really useful. Okay.
Yeah.
So we say, okay, yeah, so that's the situation. So how does DFS perform like the functions that it perform?
I think it was mentioned in the video it uses SharePoint for that kind of thing when multiple users are working on the
Yeah,
same file.
exactly. So you can use something like, SharePoint, Jira for that type of a situation. So, yeah, because I remember I also read it's not advisable when multiple users are editing the same file frequently. So, solutions like SharePoint or solutions like Jira handle this kind of situation or this kind of scenarios easily. A kind of scenario that DFS will actually be perfect for will be a kind of scenario where you have static files that hardly change, like files that change only on one server. But here's the thing: is that I can tell you that in my current environment, the situation that Microsoft is saying, don't use it for this same situation. We use it for that situation in my current environment because we have offices in like SE 18 locations. We all have this big DFS space. So if the guys in Germany who are working at the same time that the guys in UK are working, and we're working at the same time that the guys in Austria are working, we're both accessing the same shared folders if we're in the same department.
Yeah.
So
So it can get
yeah,
messy really fast then.
and no, and we use it for that situation. And sincerely, like we've not really encountered like that much problem with it. So
But you're
we
using SharePoint for that, right?
no, we use DFS. So we
DFS.
have SharePoint also, but we use DFS also for like our group folder sharing. We use DFS.
Okay.
Yeah, just because of the failover and the redundancy that it provides
Even on
for.
the Google Docs, if you and me are working on the same Excel file on
Yeah,
Google Docs, it tells you that David is editing it right now, so it shows
yeah.
you an icon over
So
there.
that's the thing that we usually get, because majority of like our applications has that kind of way to detect to say to put a lock on it if someone has the same file opened. So they put a lock
Okay.
on it. So that's why we don't really get like that much problem. But there are some applications that so it varies from application to application. There are some applications that don't have that intelligence built into them where they can recognize that a file is locked, a file is currently in use by someone, and therefore not allowing someone else to edit it. So
Okay.
yeah. So good one. Good one. So DFS, how does DFS perform the functions, or what functions does DFS perform? What are the functions? Let's put it this way. What are the functions? Enrique, you want to go first? Functions of DFS.
Well, replication.
Yep, that's a good one. Replication. Yep, what else?
I think more organization of a file system, like files and folders over a network.
Organization. Yep, yep, what else? So, but you're
Uh,
actually both right. You're actually both right. But yeah, I'll just put it in like the terminology that they use. So three functions. First function is namespace, which is basically what you just described. Is a
Mm.
fancy way of saying organizing your different folders on different servers. And you have replication, which is the term that they use for this one is called content redundancy.
Okay.
So the functions of that one, and then there's another one called namespace redundancy. So these are three functions. Number one is namespace. What is namespace? So number one, namespace. What is namespace? Enrique doesn't like me deleting this this whiteboard. So let's just copy this one. Okay, so namespace. What is namespace?
Uh, I don't. I know what it is, but I can't explain it to you.
Uh,
Yeah, I understand. But okay,
at the past, I had a teacher,
yeah.
and they used to say, "I know, but just for me, I can't explain." The same
Which is true.
situation.
Sometimes it can be tough to explain. It's true. I understand
Yeah.
because there are some concepts that sometimes can be difficult to explain.
Yeah, but I think that essentially it is a shared space
Yeah.
uh, where the files or folders are saved and replicated between the different locations.
Yeah, which is absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct in the description. So,
Hmm.
um, DFS namespace, I'll say it's like you're just grouping shared folders together under one name. So let's
Hmm.
say you have a server here. Let's say this is server A. You have another server here. This is server B. And you have another server here. This is server C. So they're both the three of them are in different locations around the world. So what you can do is say, okay, I'm sharing this folder on server A. This folder that I'm sharing is called, let's see, let's just call it folder one to make it, okay. So you're sharing this folder one on server A. You're sharing this folder called folder two on server B. You're sharing this folder called folder three on server C. So the way to access it on server C is you go backslash C and then you go backslash folder 3. And the same thing you have to do for server A. You go backslash A, you go folder 1. And the same thing you have to do for server B, backslash B, backslash folder 2. What you can do is bring all of this together under one common name and say, okay, um, let's say our domain here were to be adatum.com. So what you can do is say, okay, I'm putting everything under one name. I'll call it adatum.com. And under adatum.com, there is a folder called folder one. And folder one is pointing to this one. And then you have another folder called folder two. And folder two is pointing to this one. And you have another folder here called folder three. And folder 3 is pointing to this one. So now all users need to do is know that name. And this name, they can access like all these different folders that are on different servers just by knowing just this single name. So that's namespace.
One question, like when you say namespaces, I got the idea what you are trying to say, that you are accumulating everything under one folder name, and that
Yeah.
is called a namespace. But if you go out of context of this, like let's say if you make a domain addendum.com
Hmm.
and you put PC1, PC2, PC3 inside that domain,
Yeah.
so is that domain can also be called as a namespace?
No, no,
No.
no.
Okay.
So in the context of DFS, so a namespace is just a a
Alias.
yeah, exactly, an alias that you're gathering shared folders under. But here's the thing to realize, because here's the thing that can be a bit confusing to many, is that namespace are hosted on servers. So it may seem like, yeah, of course we know, but it's really important. I'll show why it's really important. Namespace are hosted on servers. So namespace are hosted on servers. That means I can go and say, okay, server, hey, I want you to be hosting this namespace called adaton.com. And what that means is that this namespace is accessible via this server. But if
Okay.
this server were to go down, let's say something happens and this server were to go down, nobody can access this namespace anymore
Yeah.
because the only way they can access the files and the folders is by going directly back to what they were using before. Go to //c and //b, but they can't access //adatum.com because you have to be hosting the namespace on a server.
On a server or a domain controller?
On it, so it can be a domain controller. It doesn't have to
It
be a
doesn't
domain
matter.
controller. Actually, I won't use my domain controller in my infrastructure because of the recommendation of domain controller. Reserve them except you're like a really small business exclusively as domain controllers. Nothing else on them. So I won't use my domain controller
Okay, for this
for for hosting
storing
namespaces
namespace.
and all that. I'll use member servers that are joined to the domain to host namespaces. So that's just
Okay.
my own view of that. I won't ever use my domain except like a really really small business where they're like, yeah, we're really tight on money. We can only afford this one, so we can put everything into one and all that stuff. But normally domain controllers just leave them and to do what they're doing and all that stuff. So if this one were to go down, the namespace is lost. That brings us to the next thing that we talked about that it does. We said it does something called
Namespace
namespace
redundancy.
redundancy. Because now what you can do is you can say, I'm hosting this namespace on this one. And you can say, by the way, I'm hosting this namespace on this one too. And by the way, I'm hosting this namespace on this one too. So if this server were to go down, people can still access the namespace because the namespace is hosted on this one and the namespace is hosted on this one. That's what we mean by namespace redundancy.
So how does that going to work on the client PC? Let's say if I'm on one client on PCC, P server C,
Good
so
question.
my Active Directory is going to tell me. Is that
Good
Active Directory is going
question.
to tell me because I'm a client?
Good question. Um, DFS, you have two modes that you can install DFS. You can install it as a standalone server. In other words,
Yeah, I've read it. Yeah.
it's not joined to the domain, it's not interacting with the domain, it's standing by itself, which is
Yes.
not really common if you are in an environment that has a domain. Or you can implement it integrated with Active Directory. Can someone tell me the reason? What would be the reason why you want to integrate DFS with Active Directory? Why you won't prefer to use standalone? What are the reasons? Or what reason will you say? So as an administrator, you're in the boardroom and you're like, yeah, you see, we have this DFS, and then someone from, sales who thinks he knows IT looks at you and says, so Enrique, but this DFS, somebody told me that you can have like this standalone server on it, and you're like, no, actually, I'll just put domain integrators. It's like, what's the point of all this thing? You're just trying to take money, It's not. I think we can just use standalone server. So now you have to justify your reason, and now yeah, because that's what goes on. That's actually what goes on, like in companies. You have to be able to justify anything that you're proposing. So you're like, you know, if you're having meeting with your colleagues also, you're like, okay, listen, I've heard your opinion, and don't be afraid to give your opinion. Worst thing is, people, there are different opinions. You may be seeing something from one angle, and someone else is seeing it from another angle. And it's not as if you're wrong, you're both right, but you're just different angles and stuff like that. So, and you're talking with your colleagues, and they're like, hey, this one, you're like, hey, here's my opinion. let let's make it integrated with Active Directory for this reason, because it provides us with benefit A, it provides us with benefit B, it provides us with benefit C, and it will make our life easier because of this. So what reason will you give and say this is the reason why I will go for Active Directory integrated and not standalone?
I
Well, I think that the same reasons we can uh, configure a DNS integrated zone, because the replication security and um, use the same Active Directory structure of replicating between other domain controllers.
Yeah, very good one. I think that's a really good one. Um, okay, so I won't ask Zoe the same question because Enrique has answered that question in terms of like because
Mhm.
it can use Active Directory's engine for replication. Now, here's my
Yeah.
question to you, Zoe. Replication of what?
Replication of the folder and file structures
Is that true? Do you agree with that, Enrique? Active Directory for replication of folder and
and
file
and
structure.
namespaces as well.
Namespaces, in what sense? In what sense in terms of namespaces?
Well, the thing is like the main difference is like if it's standalone, it's basically a world in its own. Basically, it can't figure out where the files are. If the server goes down, everything is down. You're basically stuck. What is this doing basically if the fault server A goes down,
Mhm.
so the redundancy or the replication of the namespace is going to find out through the Active Directory that my client, if I'm going to access it, going to say okay, so it's going to find from the, like if I was choosing folder 1 from server A, it says oh, the server A is down. Okay, I've got another application on server C, and I will go over there, and it will also find the best possible route for you in terms of the bandwidth allocation
You're
as well. And then it will also keep looking whether the server A comes up. As soon as it comes up and it was a better route for me, so it will do that as well. So that's more intelligent uh, option.
You know what? You're right though, and I really appreciate that explanation. Because what
Okay.
happens, because like that's one of the things that, whenever I'm doing studying, one of the things that is that I want to trace things logically. Because once you can trace it logically, you can trace it back if something goes wrong. What happens when a client comes online and the client is like, hey, um, a user is logged into the Windows 7 machine. They say, I want to go to / adatum.com. That's where I want to go to. And they type into their computer and they press enter. The first thing that will happen is a net logon request. A net logon request will go from the user's machine, if it's Active Directory integrated, straight to the domain controller. So net
Okay.
logon request goes from the user's machine, goes to the domain controller. And what's he asking? What's the request? What's he saying? It's saying to the domain controller, I need a list of servers that are hosting this namespace.
Okay.
That configuration information is what is hosted in Active Directory, and what Enrique mentioned is replicated by Active Directory. So, in case one Active Directory domain controller is down, there's always another one, right? That
Yeah.
because what happens is same so the same it is the function similarly. If an Active Directory, if a domain controller is down, your machine will just go, where's the next one, and goes to ask the next domain controller. You know,
Okay, I didn't know that what you were talking about this thing, which is a good point that net logon is going to go that and do ask domain controller for this list.
yeah.
Okay,
So when
this is a
domain
good
controller,
point.
yeah, when domain controller replies, domain controller will go, yeah, you're asking for adatum.com. Adatum.com, you can find him on folder one. And oh,
Yes.
sorry, not on folder one. You can find him on server A. And server A is actually in site one.
Yes.
Also, you can find him. So that's the reply, the actual directory replies to. You can find him on server B. And server B is in site two. And you can find that same namespace on server C.
See,
And server C is in site 3. So the machine goes, okay, thanks very much for the list. Which site am I located? I'm located in site 1. So I'll go to talk to server A.
Okay, so it intelligently decides where it will,
That is
like which sites finds.
which is the
Okay.
whole beauty, which is why the whole Active Directory integration, the whole beauty, because like what Enrique mentioned, it can use Active Directory's intelligence to make decisions. So Active
Okay.
Directory has this configuration of your DFS topology, and it's replicating
Okay.
this configuration between themselves, the domain controllers. So when you go, it's
Okay.
like, here's the list, here's the site that they're located. So the machine can go, okay, I'm in site one. So if I'm in site one and server A is in site one, I'll go
Okay,
to
and does
access.
this information
Yeah,
gets refreshed, or is it a constant information which stays in your computer locally, like, or does it get refreshed after some time? Let's say
actually,
you everything was fine, you go for a coffee, server go A goes down, you come back after a coffee, you see oh, and then you click server B. So how does it go? I know that it already know that the site 2 is there on server B,
yeah. So actually,
but
let's see that together. Let's see where Active Directory saves like the whole information and everything. So we'll probably stop pause for a minute and get you and Enrique to do a lab of setting up DFS on these systems. But here's the thing. If it goes and tries to access server A, yeah, and then gets a bounce back, server A is down, is not responding, it
yes.
just goes and uses Active Directory to say server site 2 and site 3, which one is closest? And the way Active Directory does that, which is another topic, is it uses, Active Directory sites and services, and it calculates the link cost and all that. And Active Directory reply, yeah, server B is closest to you than server A based on the cost calculation that I've done. And it goes, okay, I'll try to access this namespace on server B. So which is the whole thing of namespace redundancy? Because if you're hosting this namespace on just one single server, Active Directory only has one server to present, and if that server is down, even though these other folders that they are pointing to, they are available.
Isn't that something similar which like a Cisco router will perform when you go through different routes and if one route goes down, intelligently it intelligently selects the best route for you based on metrics or whatever.
Yeah, it's something similar. It's
Something
something
similar.
similar. Yeah,
Okay.
it's something similar. So like normally, yeah, it's one thing you find out in IT. Like they just use the same technology and just apply it in different places. It's the same technology that they did, yeah. So this technology that we're talking about, that's the same exact technology that goes on if a user wants to log on to a domain controller. So you go and type
Okay.
in my username is Enrique, my password is this one, and you go enter, and then it sends it to say like, okay, what are the list of domain controllers available? It goes to domain controller here in its site. If that one is down, it doesn't go, oh, the domain controller that is in my site is down, I can't log in. It just goes through the next list. Where's the next domain controller that is closest? It said, this domain controller in Oxford. Okay, I'll go try to talk to that one. If that one is down, yeah, where's the next one? There's another one in London. I'll go try to talk to that one. So it's the same technology that DFS is using. So, okay,
It's also something looks similar to me like a DNS thing as well, where you keep a DNS cache. If I ask you where is hotmail.com, then you already have a DNS cache and throw back the actual address to me as well, like as an IP address.
yeah,
And then I will figure out the route through my routers or whatever I want to do with it.
yeah. So here's the lab that you're gonna do today. So Enrique again. So just blame this on Enrique. He doesn't want me to delete any one of them. So I'll leave I'll leave everything. I'll just open new ones. So here's the
Okay.
task. The task is install DFS. So you have to decide and divide the task between yourselves. So the task is number one, install DFS. Number two, set up a a namespace called um, adatum.com. Number three, set up shared folders um, called adatum.com and hosts on LON DC1 and LON DC2. So set up shared folders and replicate between LON
ये लाइट बंद
DC1
कर देना था
and learn DC2. So after you do this, then we just do something brief to say to just show the things that we've discussed so far. So the other thing I want to mention is that I was thinking before that we'll do this the same format that we did 7410, where we do one section per week. But I think I'll be changing my mind with that because last week we were supposed to do WDS, WSOS, and monitoring, but we're only able to do WDS because of time. So I'm thinking, what will
Yes,
probably,
even today's section is like we have
yeah,
to do EFS and BitLocker and all that stuff.
exactly. So I'm thinking we'll just do one topic a week because there's no point in rushing it, and then we miss like I mean W source and monitoring are really important topics. So I think we'll just
David,
do,
what I will do, I will make a list. I
yeah,
will going to make a list for all the topics,
yeah,
and then I will send it to you.
nice one.
And
I
then we will
appreciate
cover
that,
them
man.
one by one, like a
Yeah,
checkbox list or something,
yeah,
that
I
how much we
appreciate
have
that.
covered.
Nice
I
one.
will send you a list, okay?
Yeah, thanks one, man. Thanks one. Nice one though. So this is basically DFS. So I want you to configure this one. So you have to decide and share the task between the two of you. So the password for all the servers is password. So go, and the mouse belongs to you, so you can take over the mouse. And the server that you want to, so again, not learn DC1 and learn DC2, sorry. Learn DC1 and learn server 1. So those are the ones. So the namespace, we want to host them on learn DC1 and learn server 1. And then we want the shared folder to be replicated between learn DC1 and learn server 1. So you have to do that. So yeah, discuss and share the task and everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Henrik, you wanna install the DFS or
Yeah, I can. Let me see. Like by this server.
yeah, I think you can do on this one as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, DC one is the domain controller one, so you can probably connect on to this.
It is a hole or feature.
Uh, it's a module, I think. Import module DFS, like on a PowerShell command. Or
But just this way.
if you want to install it the GUI way, I think you can do it. But if you
Uh-huh.
want to do the PowerShell way, you can do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. There, the we go in the features.
Features.
Yeah, yeah. If you maybe go down,
Oh, let me go back just for a while.
it's a server role. It's under the file and storage services.
Yeah, yeah.
If you, yeah, this one, and
Uh,
I can't see it.
I can expand this.
I think just do it through the PowerShell way, probably.
Okay. You know the command?
Yeah, I have got the commands. Let's try this.
Okay.
Uh, I think it's yeah, I'm holding the mouse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think you have to enable it probably through PowerShell probably, but first I think. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I can see in the book. It doesn't say that you have to do it, but it looks like because we couldn't see it over there, so we probably should be able to see it over there now after this PowerShell command gets complete.
Okay. Just let me pick the mouse for a while until
Okay.
this.
Yeah, I think it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then it's, can't see anything.
Mm.
Maybe
I think that we can close this window and try to set up a namespace with a GUI interface uh, in the file and storage option.
I think you cannot set up a namespace without the DFS being installed under the file and storage
Oh yeah.
services. Yeah,
Mm, okay.
you need to probably close it and then reopen it. It might refresh. Like
I don't understand why we can't expand this mark here in file and storage service.
I think just close the add-ins feature wizard and then reopen it.
Uh,
I think it might refresh it.
Let me check here. We
Can you
can't.
expand it?
No, and I can't close this window.
Yeah, I think just close this whole window, add roles and features.
Weird.
Can you close the whole window, like from the corner?
No.
Okay, close that PowerShell window first, I think. Yeah, close this one.
Yeah.
Then try to close it.
No. Nothing. Cancel. Neither. Can you try it?
Uh, no, it's just not working.
Yeah. Um, Let me pick up just a while here. There's something wrong because no one button is working.
Yeah, I think something is wrong. It's just not. I think the machine has died or something. Let's just
Yeah.
stop it, I think.
hmm Do you work as an IJ administrator?
No, man, I'm trying to change careers basically. I work in computer animation.
Sorry?
I work in computer animation. I'm trying to change career.
Okay. Yeah, really?
So yeah, I wanted to go into computer, like I wanted to go into IT, desktop support, and then probably server support as well.
Okay.
So that's why I'm preparing for my MCSA.
Uh-huh. Did you take some exams, some tests?
I'm preparing for 410 now,
Okay.
but since David and everybody is on 411, so I'm trying to catch up because by the time I will be for 411, then they will be pop on 412, so I will be chasing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm joining on all hangouts to gain information, reading as
Uh,
much as I can.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
read I've read somewhere on certain blogs like the expert says that you should prepare 410 and 411 together because it's very tightly integrated.
Yeah, I saw some discussion about this on the group.
I can't when I'm pressing Control or Delete. Okay.
You finished?
No, we couldn't set it up. The DFS the machine got hanged or something.
Ah, seriously?
Yeah, I did some PowerShell command and then everything was messed up.
No, no problems. Yeah, carry on. So where are you now? So who is doing what?
I'm putting in the password.
So who is doing what and where are you? So who is installing DFS?
I think that we did together.
Mm,
I think that the first step it's done.
mm, to install DFS.
Oh yeah,
So where did you install DFS on?
I I installed it on the on this one, London DC one.
London basic one. So what about
yeah.
London server one?
Uh, no, haven't installed it over there.
Do you need to install it over there?
Okay.
What do you think, Enrique? No, I'm asking. What do you think, Enrique? What do you think? I mean, from the task, do you need DFS to be installed on London server one? Why? Why not?
Um, because actually I don't know. Let me think.
Because namespace may work if you host namespace on only one single server. Even namespace
Hmm.
redundancy may work if you host it on one single server. But what about replication? If you want to replicate,
I think that we should uh, install just
I think we can install on one server only.
yeah, and the other locations are just shared folder.
hmm but how will they replicate? I carry on. I'm not saying. I'm not saying. Carry on.
Okay.
I mean, that's why it's a lab, so we can play with it. So,
Hmm.
so what are you doing now? What's the next thing you want to do now?
Just to verify if it is already installed.
Now, okay.
Uh,
So is DFS installed or not?
no, I can't see it. It should be under the file and
Yep.
storage services.
So where's file and storage services? Is
It
it
should
Evolo?
be under the features.
Is it Evolo? Is it Evolo a feature, Enrique? File and storage
I
services.
think uh, I think that it is inside the
It's I think it's a server role.
yeah,
Should be here.
yeah. Try to
Yeah, this
expand.
one.
Yeah, try. Uh-oh.
And there it is. Yeah, you see.
Yeah, so there we are.
So do you want to install it on both of them?
Just
Uh,
these two, okay?
Yep.
Okay, go on. The time before the server was stuck.
Um, yep. So why it's installing, you can start setting up your shared folders. So both servers have a drive called the E drive, so you can put your shared folders on the E drive.
okay.
Dave,
Yeah.
um, I think that we should configure just in one point. I mean, a DC1, for example,
Hmm.
and the others can be just a point of sharing a member server just to save the files. But in one point, in centralized point, we should configure the DFS. I think the structure of this stuff is that way. Am I wrong?
So you're thinking we'll put DFS, which of the DFS roles? Is it namespace of application?
I think that we can set up both just in one point.
Hmm.
For example, in DC1,
Hmm.
it will manage
Hmm.
the whole replication between the sites.
Okay.
Is this way?
Let's see.
That's okay. There is no answer.
Let's see.
Try
Let's
to figure it out.
no, let's see if it's that way. Let's look.
Okay.
So as you finish installing, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So want to set up your namespace now in your shared folders.
I've shared a folder in E drive, which is shared apps E or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's opening up the uh, yeah, DSS management. So we're gonna create a namespace, add a new namespace, and then the server should be. What was the question? Set up a namespace called redundant.com and host on London DC1 and server. So we are on London DC1, so we first need to create a addendum.com, right?
I think it's asking you, okay.
Server, enter the name of the server that will host the name.
No,
Okay, so
Not me.
enter the name of the server.
Not me, because
So it
yeah, I've
will
got nothing
be
to say. Yeah.
London DC1. Probably we can browse for it.
It's London hyphen DC1.
DC1,
Yeah.
check names. Yeah, I got it. So this is the one, and then namespace we will need addend. What was it? Addendum.
adultum.com.
Addendum. Right? Right,
Adatum,
like
it's
this.
ADATUM. ADA,
ADA.
yeah, TUM. But here's the
Right?
here's the question: is that you're putting adatum.com where?
Enter the name of the name for the namespace. This name will appear after the server or domain name in the namespace path, such as server dash name or domain name.
Hmm.
I
So,
think that you should put it on DC1, long hyphen DC1 backslash at iTunes.com.
No, I think that's okay. Like, if you put
Mm.
just adatum.com is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it says enter a name for the namespace. If you go back, can you see what it's showing you? No, if you go next, go next. Can you see what's showing you? It's
yeah,
showing you
it
that
says
name of namespace.
addendum.com and then it says London DC1.
So what do you think it wants you to put in the previous one? Does it want you to put in the
Uh,
same?
just put the addendum, I think, without .com.
So let's go. Let me take the mouse. Let's go to the whiteboard. So the way it works is
Mm-hmm.
you've got let's go to this other one. It'll be good. Yeah, we got this one here. Let's see if we can do Control Z. Yeah, okay. So the way it works is if you're hosting the namespace on this server, the namespace will ask you for something called a root folder. So your users can just go to adatum.com. DFS will ask you, I want a root folder that you're going to link all these other targets under. So you have to call the root folder something. So you can call it DFS if you want. You can call it data if you want. You can call it any name. So DFS must have a root. It's called a root folder. So you have the root server, the server that is hosting the DFS and the namespace. But then you need a root folder. So that's what it's asking you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can carry on to with London. This one, yeah, we can carry on.
So we need to have a shared folder and somewhere like a E drive.
Yeah. So both servers have E drive, so you can create your shared folders in the E drive.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good enough? Like the what
Okay,
is
yeah, we have two modes here. We have 2008 mode, and you can if
we
you
don't want to go for the standalone mode. We are going for the Active Directory, right?
yeah. So we already know the difference between standalone and Active Directory mode. But now it's showing you something. So even if you use Active Directory mode or domain-based mode, it said there are two options. You can enable Windows Server 2008 mode, or you can remove that option to disable it. In which
Yeah, I
case,
will disable it,
it
I
will be
think.
Windows 2000 mode. So what's the difference between Windows? Enrique Zoe wants to disable it. What's the difference between Windows 2008?
I want to go to sleep, so I would disable it ASAP.
What's the difference between the two of them? 2008 or 2000 mode?
Just for
Uh,
compatibility issues.
Not really. Thanks for trying, but not really. How about
Okay.
you though? What do you think? 2008 mode. What does it mean?
I think it has something to do with some features which might be available in 2008, which are not available in 2012.
That's the
Backward
key.
compatibility.
That's the key point. The key point is not features that are available in 2008 that's not available in 2012. The key point is the word features. So you enable 2008 mode, it gives you more features. More features, for example, you can have more folder targets. One of the features you can have is that for 2008 mode, you can enable things like access-based enumeration, which
Mm-hmm.
only shows the things that you have access to. But if you untick it, you can't use those features. If you untick
What
it,
do
I
you
think
mean? Is it on 2012? We can't use that feature?
yeah, so there's no 2012 mode, there's only two modes. So you have two modes that you can install DFS, domain-based or standalone. Now, domain-based has two modes, either Windows 2000 mode or Windows 2008 mode. There's no 2012
Oh,
mode.
okay.
But if you want to use Windows 2008 mode, there are restrictions. Restrictions, restriction number one, your domain, your forest level must be 2003 and above. Your domain level your domain functional level must be 2008 and above. And
Okay.
all your servers that are hosting namespaces, they must be 2008 and above.
Okay.
Yeah. So you probably want to leave 2008 mode for features.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. You're right in this
And
one.
yeah.
Then, yeah, so now this namespace is hosted on, so
On the
on Lon DC1.
Learn DC1.
So
Enric, you want to do the other one if you.
yeah. So now you want to host it on Lon server one also.
We
Enric, you want
should
to do the other one?
It's really simple and straightforward.
we should perform the same task in London one server
What do you
member
think?
server.
What do you think? Because
Mm.
now what I want to do is want to host this namespace on server one. So this namespace is now hosted on DC1, but now I want to host
Mm-hmm.
it on server one too. so that in case DC1, well, technically DC1 goes down because there's only one domain controller in this in this domain. But let's say this one is just another server, so that in case this one
I
goes
think
down,
we will be installing the DFS services on that server as well, but we will be pointing it to this namespace. That's it. We will not be creating it again, right? But we'll be installing the services on that server.
I think this is the only time that I'll assist. Well, in order to make it quicker, so it's really simple. If you want to host it, so you don't actually need to have DFS installed to host a DFS namespace on another server. All you need to do is go on that namespace and add another. So go on that namespace there.
This one.
Yeah. So go on the namespaces, expand that, then right click on it. It's really simple and straightforward. And all you do is which option do you
Add
exactly?
namespace server.
Yeah, and just add. So in other words, that's the way you can do namespace redundancy. You just add different namespace server. So it's called long
Long, I
SVR1,
think.
SVR1. Yeah. So before you actually go ahead, let's just explain this so you understand what is actually going on. So now that you've done this one now, you know what it's happened. What happened is that once you say you're hosting DFS namespace on a server, it's a fancy term. All it's simply doing is creating a shared folder called DFS root. That's all it's doing. And DFS root will just contain links to all your document that you want to, all your folders that you want to gather together. You get the point? So for example now, if you go under launch server one now, I go under launch server one, and I go under the C drive, you see nothing here. You don't see any folder there. But if you and go ahead and install and yeah, go ahead and add it as and host the namespace on it. So go ahead and do that, and then go okay, and then what we'll do is let's drag this one up here, and let's drag this one down here.
So you're trying to say on SRV when you don't need to run the DFS services, just we are just adding the namespace over there,
So
right?
all the namespace, no, you don't need to install DFS role. So look at what will happen here once it finishes. Okay, it's having some error. Uh-oh, error. What do you think?
Check distribution file system service status. Check the create the shared folder if doesn't exist. Commit changes. I think shared folder does exist, and I enabled sharing on it.
Check distributed file system service status. So if you check, yeah, if you just check what it asks you to check and check if it's enabled.
Uh, oops. How do I check if it's running the services or?
Right, yeah.
Uh, No. Do you know, David, why this is happening?
Hmm? What do you think?
Why this would uh I think on the other server the DFS file system service should be enabled, right?
Ah, yeah, so go check the other server.
Uh yeah, this is SVR1 and we don't have a DFS service here, so do we need to install it first, I think.
What do you think? Enrique, what do you think?
Yeah, because we get this error, I think that we should have a GFS namespace feature installed on both servers, but not the replication, just namespace. Can I ask you
Yeah.
where in the server one we gonna store the files?
And you can store it under the E drive also.
Okay,
You can
but we can share the specific folder before do this action.
yeah, sure. You can.
You mean we should share a folder in loan server one before finish this task
The sharing of the
to
folder is
point.
actually the sharing
Hmm.
of the folder is actually simple in terms of like the sharing of the folder is you can do it before or after, it doesn't matter. Because if you do it
Yeah.
before, you still have to go on the you still have to add it as a target.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do it after, you still have to go and add it as a target under DFS management.
Okay.
So you're on this one. So I think I was thinking to my thought was because when I did the lab before, in the
Mm-hmm.
lab, I installed DFS on LAN server one, and I was able to host the the namespace on LAN DC one. But I think the reason why that worked, because I was thinking that maybe that means you don't need to have um, DFS namespace role installed to be able to host it, because I didn't install it on LAN DC one. But if I think about it properly now that you're getting this error message, is that Active Directory actually uses DFS. So when you install Active Directory, I think it installs DFS also. Because actually, if you go back, let me go back to learn this one. Because to do the because Active Directory, to do its replication, it uses DFS for its replication. So if I go back under this one and I go under, if I close this one and close this one, I go under replication, you can see domain system volume, and that's referring to our sysvol folder. So you say, so we didn't have this replication here, but it's showing you this one
Mm-hmm.
because Active Directory uses DFS for replicating sysvol. So, so I'm thinking you need to have that role installed on the other server. So yeah, so go ahead and install it on the other server. Straightforward. I do want to use PowerShell.
Uh I think initially when we were doing it on the DC one, the DFS services were not there at the time, so I had to do this PowerShell command so that we could get them under the file and go file services.
No, it's there already. You don't need to do this to have it there. So it's there.
Okay.
So all you need to do is expand file and storage services and expand file and iSCSI services. Yeah, and you see it there. Because actually to make it easy, you need to install replication also. Because if you don't install replication on this one, replication doesn't work. I was thinking namespace works without installing it, but I definitely know replication doesn't work without installing it.
So, in conclusion, we should install both features in all
File
the
servers.
servers that were be member of the namespace.
Yes.
Okay,
All servers that would that so basically you'll only be installing this on your file servers in your environment. Because basically you'll probably be hosting the namespace on your file servers, and definitely they are the ones that contains the folder that you want to replicate.
okay,
So yeah, if you carry on and create your shared folders on this one also, so that when it finishes, we have the shared folders ready. Create shared folders, create some test files inside them. You don't need to share it. You don't need to share it. Because all you need to
I don't
do,
have to share.
no, you need to share the, sorry. Oh, the folder, sorry. You need to share the folder, sorry. I'm sorry about that. You need to share the folder, sorry. The folder that you want to replicate. Yep, so you're done. So now if you add host, so you want to host it, host that namespace on another. So we got 12 minutes to finish everything. You want to host that namespace on another on another server.
Should we should we go back to DC1?
No, you can do it from here too. You can do it from here. So if you expand
Okay.
namespaces, you can do it from there.
it doesn't matter what server I'm doing this. Okay.
Yep,
Uh,
yep,
Add domain space, right? Like this
yep,
one.
yep. So now if you expand that, or if you right click on it, or click on it, no, not DC1. So you already added DC1.
This one.
Yep,
but
yep, there you go. So now if you go on that namespace servers, you can see that now you're hosting this namespace on two different servers. So if one of them,
mhm.
so this namespace redundancy, if one of them goes down, that namespace is still available. So the Active Directory server has this list. So it can give this list to any client and say, these are the servers that are hosting. And you see, it's got the site information in front. So it will give the list of the servers and the sites to any client to say, these are the sites that are hosting this namespace. And this is where Active Directory. Was anybody around when we were doing at C edit and we are discussing Active Directory ntds.it file? Was anyone around then? Anyone? And were you not around them, Enrique, when we're discussing Active Directory, ntds.dit file, and we're discussing the partitions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, so this is what, so if you go on that, just the domain partition,
Mm-hmm.
and you expand it, you see where it saves the information about your topology. So under system, and you see this one here called DFS configuration.
Mm-hmm.
And under there, you can see the root folder, right? So this is the root folder, and if you yeah, so this is the root folder. So that's where it saves the configuration of your root folder in Active Directory. So yeah, back to this one. So now you have your shared servers, your servers already. So now what you want to do is you want to add folders to this server. So go ahead and add your folders, your shared folders.
Uh,
So how do you add your shared folders?
uh,
To make it simple, you basically right click on the namespace on the left hand side. Yeah, and just go new folder, that's all. So new folder. So now you give the folder a name. So basically, let me explain what we're doing to you so that it's a bit clearer. So basically what we do is that we have our namespace, right? And we have our root folder, which we've called shared docs, right? So
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what we've called the root folder. So basically what we're now doing is we're creating folders under this. So what we can do is create something like folder one, and then say folder one is pointing to basically what we'll have down here. And I'll say folder one, we want to point it is folder one is pointing to, you know, backslash a backslash 1 2 3. You get the point. So basically that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing now. So when it's asking you for folder name, it's saying give it a name, then you have to tell me which shared folder it's pointing to. But here's another good thing that will be useful for you, is that we said what it basically does is because at the C drive, you see this DFS root here, and you see your shared root folder there. So as you're adding folder target, it will be adding the links under this folder. So if you go ahead and add your folder target, go ahead and
So if I do this new folder,
yep,
so I just name it folder one, let's say,
yep, then you give it a
and
name.
folder target should be equal to this one. This is I made on.
Mm-hmm.
So basically that's what you're just saying. Yep, that's the target and click OK.
Why can't I see the other one? Acha, okay, I
No,
need
you
to
can't
put that
add
on the.
if you want to add the other one under this target also. Yeah, you can do that actually. You can do that. So you have to change it. Yeah, exactly. So you can do that. So now, if you're adding two targets under the same folder, it's telling you I can also do this thing called replication if you want, which means I can make sure that the files in one folder are available in the other folder. Do you want to do that?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
So I created a file in DC1.
mm,
Sorry, as server one. It should be now be in the DC1 as well.
not yet. So you want you to configure it first. It's like, yeah, quickly. It's like configure me and give me some settings. So the primary member in this case, this is like where the situation of like what we're talking about. So the primary member can't be non-DC1 because it's saying, if you look at it, it says the primary member is the member that already has the files and folders in it.
Oh, so then it will be SVR1 because the file is
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the topology full mesh.
Full mesh means everyone is replicating with everyone.
Yeah, replicate continuously using the specified bandwidth, full
Yeah.
bandwidth. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Just for lab environment. In the real world,
Review
it's not that.
settings, confirmation.
Yeah.
Okay, it's done.
Yeah. So now it's testing time. So okay, so actually before we go ahead, let me quickly show you something. So now you can see now we have folder one under the DFS routes shared docs. We have folder one, but you can't actually access it because this is not actually a folder, it's just a link. Now if we go back to Active Directory, it's good to just understand this thing so you know what's going on behind the scene. If you go under Active Directory, add cedit again, and we'll refresh this, and you go under here. Now you see a link here. So in other
Mm-hmm.
words, it's like I'm not actually hosting anything. I'm just like a shortcut to a folder.
Okay.
Yeah. So in other words, back to this one. So this one is basically just a shortcut. This folder one.
Okay.
So this folder one is a shortcut to this one. But the good thing is that yeah. So if you want to test. So how do you test?
Should we see in the DC one if the file is there, the text file I
Before you do
created?
that, you have to test your namespace. Is your namespace working at all? How do you get your namespace?
That's a good question.
Backslash another font
Yeah. Good one.
backslash the name of the namespace.
Yeah. Good one.
Just just two backslash.
What was the name of it? Was shared folder, right? Shared docs, shared apps.
Which one? It's not shared apps. You didn't call it shared apps. It's called shared docs, right?
Uh,
Yeah, there you go. So you have your folder one there. So if you access your folder one, so what's inside your folder one?
it,
Nothing.
Nothing. So if you write, so if you want to test,
Because
yeah,
because the replication didn't happen.
not happened yet. If you want to test, because this one is connecting to one of the targets that you connected to. So how do you check which target is connected to? How do you check? I want to know which of because it's pointing to multiple servers. I want to know which of the servers it's pointing to. So which, how do I check which server it's connected to? So if you right click on this to make it quicker, it's got 2 more minutes, and then go to properties. So you find a tab there called DFS. There you go. So you can see the one that is active is LON DC1.
Mm,
So that means LON server one. So actually you can change it by yourself as a user. So you can click. So let's say so you can click on that and say set as active, and it will set that to be active. Yep. And if you click OK, so now if you refresh, you'll find your file there. Yep.
okay.
So
congratulations.
if you go back and right click on it, but here's the thing: the replication is still not working because basically it's on LON server one, but it's not on LON DC one. So if you go back and
You
change it
just
back,
change the pointer.
yeah. So now you have to make sure that replication is working. So how do you get replication to work?
No, it's not working.
How do you replicate immediately? If you want to replicate immediately, how do you do that? Just go under replication. It's easy. Go under replication.
Where is it?
Under
The
DFS management. Go under
Yeah.
replication.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah, I
just
think you need
click
to
on that.
enable it.
And go under connections. No, it's already enabled. Go under connections.
This one.
The connections tab. No, not that one. So there's a one, the connection tab at the top. Yeah, that one. So you can see because we created full mesh, it created two connections. It says the sending member LON DC1, the receiving member LON server 1. Then it created
Okay.
another link. It said the sending member LON server 1, the receiving member LON DC1. In other words, they are both replicating with one another. So all you need to do is
Okay.
you want what replication do you want to do now? It's LON server 1 to LON DC1, right?
Yes.
So if you right click LON server 1 to LON DC1 replication and click replicate now. Yep. If you click OK, yep, successfully resumed. So now if you go back and just see what happens to your folder, your namespace. Let's see what happened. There's like a lot of things you can do in terms of troubleshooting in case something goes wrong. Yeah. there you are. You have it there. Share docs. Folder one. Yeah, there you go. And now if you go under properties, you'll see that long div one is still active. Yeah, so it's replicated now, right? Because long div one was active. Another. So
Okay.
just for future something, in case something goes wrong, one of the useful tools, you have many useful tools, and this is where we end. We have many useful tools. One of the useful tools is you can actually create diagnostic reports. So this is really useful. It will do some tests on DFS replication and give you a report of what's going on. Another thing that is very useful when you're troubleshooting is event viewer. Under event viewer, under applications, there's a special filtered log for DFS if it's installed. So you have DFS replication. So if you're having errors with replication, you want to have a look here and see which error is going on. Like this one here,
Okay.
DFS application service failed to communicate with the partner loan DC1 for application, stuff like that. So that's one other troubleshooting tool that you can use. Have a look and see in this log under application and services, DFS application, have a look what's going on. Have a look
Okay.
and see what's going on in the health report, in the diagnostic report. Another thing you can do is use something called DFS diagnostic, which will run like some tests and check if everything is okay. DFS diagnostic, you can go test DFS config. It's going to do some test and then you specify your namespace and all that. The other thing you can do is run DFS for DFS replication, DFS yeah, and then you can run some tests to see, if everything is okay or not. And it will run some automatic test and tell you if something is wrong. So because
Okay.
things do go wrong in DFS replication in the real world, so in case you need to troubleshoot. So we'll meet again next week. So next week we'll continue with this same section. So we won't be rushing. So we'll do file services resource manager in that. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you later. I need to really go rush and sleep now because in the next 4 hours I'm rushing to the office for the change. So see you
Okay,
next
man.
week,
Thank you
guys.
so much, David.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good
Okay.
day. Bye.
Thank you, David.
No
Well,
problem.
see you
Bye.
also.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
Thank you, Henrik. Bye bye.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.